But Saudis are definitely interested in BrahMos and other high-tech equipment and missiles from India. But I really do not know when this would happen, how this would happen. But certainly we are in a trajectory where both countries are interested to collaborate on the defense sector.
Hello and welcome to the gist for StratNews Global. This is Nayanima Basu. Hello and welcome to the gist. I have with me today a very special guest. He is Dr. Ausaf Sayeed. He was India's ambassador to Saudi Arabia and also secretary at the Ministry of External Affairs. We are going to understand from him Prime Minister Narendra Modi's important and strategic visit that had happened in Jeddah at last week. At that point of time, there was this curiosity to understand what exactly is India and Saudi Arabia going to do in the future. Welcome to the gist, sir, and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be on your channel to talk to you.
Thank you, sir. And I know you are joining us from the US, so we will not take much time due to time difference issues. But to quickly understand from you, how do you analyze the visit? Although due to the unfortunate incident, tragic incident of Pahalgam, it had to be cut short. But nevertheless, PM did meet the Crown Prince, and also they had a very important meeting of the Strategic Partnership Council. And the joint statement also gave a lot of guidelines about the future of this bilateral relationship. So how do you kind of assess the second round of the Strategic Partnership Council?
See, this was a very important ongoing continuous visit of continuous consultations between the two leaders within the framework of the Strategic Partnership Council mechanism, which was established in 2019. So this was almost after 4 or 5 years that PM had got a chance to go back to the kingdom, but continue the discussions which he had with the Crown Prince on the sidelines of G20 during the first strategic partnership meeting. So I think first and foremost, this mechanism itself is very unique because this kind of mechanism does not exist in any other strategic partnership mechanisms which we have with other Gulf countries. Like the two leaders mandatorily have to meet once in 2 years and then review the entire progress made by the ministerial committees and the subcommittees. So that marks a very marks the deep commitment of the two leaders to kind of take the relationship forward. So in that context, this was a very important meeting as a continuation of the talks which was ongoing. Now, I would also feel that the timing was also very important because this was the time from the Saudi perspective. A lot of high-level visits were actually planned. Now the Saudis are planning the visit of President Trump in the coming weeks. So yes. Consulting a global leader like Prime Minister Narendra Modi on regional issues also was a very important element of the visit. Of course, bilateral, there were progresses made on many issues which were stalled. I would mention the refinery, I would mention the defense cooperation, and so on and so forth. So I would feel that at this juncture, it was a very important visit to take place. And Saudi Arabia agreeing to host the visit just when the Hajj season was about to start in Jeddah, because the capital shifts to Jeddah, is itself means that they also attach great importance to Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit.
Interesting, sir. And you just spoke about the defense and security, some of the discussions that they had. And we also heard from the foreign secretary before the visit took place is the fact that how joint military exercises have taken a quantum leap between both these countries. Now, when you talk about defense industry collaboration now, which the joint statement has stated, what do you see is exactly going to take place in the coming few years? What exactly can we see in terms of the outcome?
See, first and foremost, all the Middle Eastern countries, particularly the GCC and including Saudi Arabia, they are looking to diversify their sources for procuring weapons. There had been instances in the past when Western countries which were supplying weapons to some of these countries had put unreasonable conditions, including the right to sovereign use of weapons. So this was, so you buy a weapon, but you cannot use a weapon for whatever you want to. So they have been looking for destinations, sources where they could get the weapons without these political conditionalities. So they found that India, with its progress in defense, industry, which is a great progress in many fields, they found that India is the best suitable for it. For India, this is a very interesting market, close to its shores, a market which had all the countries put together more than $100 billion of defense budget. Saudi Arabia alone has a defense budget of about 78 billion. So I think the two sides match with each other. The Saudis and the other countries are interested in our cruise missiles and other small arms and ammunition, patrol boats, naval ships, and so on and so forth. And I feel that this has developed over a period of time. The defense cooperation, it's not only recent. If you would recollect, in 2014, the current King Salman had visited India, as the defense minister, crown prince and defense minister, and then thereafter this defense agreement was signed. And I would also like to highlight that during that visit, the crown prince had also accompanied his father. So the crown prince also has been having a sharp eye on India since a long time, not just from 2019 onwards. So I think the both countries have been viewing each other from various perspectives, especially defense, and the progress we could see in the terms of joint exercises. The first one was the naval exercises. Those exercises with Saudi Arabia itself marked a significant progress in our bilateral defense relationship. Then we had the Sadat Tansir, the military exercises, the armed forces exercises. So, and then the visits of our chief of defense and their chiefs. So I think these have really strengthened the two sides together in the defense side. And I could see future is for joint production, because both countries are giving importance to production. India is willing to share technology. India is willing for localization efforts, so that our thrust on the defense matches with the Vision 2030 vision of Saudi Arabia, where it is focusing on local manufacturing of industries, including the defense industry.
Mm-hmm. So when you talk about joint collaboration in and some of the defense items that you have named, do you think India will be kind of exporting those items to Saudi market, or there'll be a joint like a co-production for all these items that you've mentioned, like the missiles, warships, and others?
I think, to begin with, things have started with small arms and ammunition. We
Yes.
have recently had these agreements for signing of, with private companies and, some public sector companies also. I recollect that when I was the ambassador, during that time onwards, we had more than 1,000 Indian companies introduced to the Saudi market. So things would start gradually, with small arms and ammunition, maybe drones, UAVs, and other things. But Saudis are definitely interested in BrahMos and other high tech equipment and missiles from India. But I really do not know when this would happen, how this would happen. But certainly we are in a trajectory where both countries are interested to collaborate on the defense sector. And you recollect that in 2019, when PM's second visit to Saudi Arabia, there was an agreement signed between the two sides for defense, looking at defense procurement. So I think this is a good sign, and this visit has really built upon the previous initiatives. And in the meantime, we have so many other companies, Indian defense companies, who have been visiting Saudi Arabia, giving their demonstrations. So I feel that in the times to come, we will be certainly in a very good position to target the defense market of the GCC countries.
Okay, those are very interesting points. And now, I mean, since we are talking about defense and security, and the mood of the nation currently is extremely somber, it seems that in the joint statement, it came out as if Saudi Arabia is going to support India in its counterterrorism efforts, and where it's stated that dismantle terrorism infrastructure where it exists. Of course, the joint statement did not specifically name Pakistan, but do you think we can count on the support from the Saudis?
I think the entire Middle East, the entire GCC, including Saudi Arabia, they condemn terrorism in all its forms for whatever the cause. So Saudi Arabian had always come forward to condemn any form of terrorism. They had also seen terrorism within their, shores. So you had the Houthis, you had the other, non-state actors who have been, targeting the kingdom. You had seen in the past that the oil refineries, the Saudi Aramco refineries were targeted. So they are also a victim of terrorism. So they understand our predicament of cross-border terrorism, and they were and since it happened right there when the prime minister was visiting, Saudi crown prince and others have immediately condemned and also assured India full support on working together to dismantling the terrorist network globally. And so I think the two countries have been working together on this for a long time. There has been a good security cooperation. Saudi Arabia is one of the countries which has cooperated with India in helping it extradite some of the wanted persons who were hiding in the kingdom. And so all this augurs well, and we have very regular security dialogue between the NSAs of the two sides. So I think we can count on Saudi Arabia, to condemn terrorism, not only condemn but also work along with us in these very difficult times.
Mhm. So now coming to energy security, which is one of the key pillars in this relationship. Now there has been a discussion on the factor that the Saudis were, I mean, anyway, keen for a long time to establish two refineries. I mean, going by the past incidents, we've seen how the Ratnagiri refinery, the strategic petroleum reserves, never really took shape. But do you think going forward they have found out a way wherein the Saudis can, open refineries here? How do you think that will work out?
This is a very interesting question. When the Crown Prince came in 2019 and he promised $100 billion, the bulk of it, about $44 billion, was to go for the West Coast refinery, which
Yes.
never took off for various reasons. Firstly, it was a very bulky, proposed a very bulky refinery of 60 mmtpa, and it's
Right.
supposed to be the world's biggest. So I think that was one of the challenges to acquire so much land and other things. So the problem was that our end in getting the land required for such a big refinery. Over a period of time, both the sides reconciled and then decided on various ways to rejuvenate this project. And one of the thought processes was to kind of cut it down into smaller refineries. First, the agreement was on three refineries to be distributed across the country. Now, this particular announcement of two refineries by Saudi Arabia, Saudi Aramco in India, I think they are talking about still smaller refineries. I'm not too
Okay.
sure whether this is part of the West Coast refinery or separate initiatives, but certainly it is a welcome development. I understand that Saudi Aramco would be investing around $211 million for these two refineries, which have been talked about. If this happens, this is a very good step forward, because Saudi Arabia has always been keen, committed to opening refineries in India as part of their own strategic calculation of having a very deep energy security collaboration with India, and this was one of the things. So I welcome the announcement of these two refineries in India, where the Saudi Aramco has committed to take about 26% equity, and it is a these refineries about 9 million tons per year capacity. So definitely much smaller than what was conceived earlier, but nevertheless a welcome development. And I'm sure this would kind of lead to further investments of the kingdom in the refinery sector and the hydrocarbon sector in India.
Right. So then in 2019, when the Crown Prince came to India, and of course you were also there at that time, as our ambassador in Riyadh, there was this discussion also on the strategic petroleum reserves. That's something also a new concept. And there were a lot of discussions happening whether that is needed or not. Would you like to shed some light on that? What is happening on that aspect on SPRs?
You see, again, there was an agreement signed in 2019, correctly, as you said. The Saudi side has been showing interest in participating in the India Strategic Petroleum Reserve Program. They were actually looking at some of the sites, particularly in the expanded Patur site, but
Right.
no particular commitment was made, no specific commitment was made by the Saudi side in terms of the quantum and the quantity, but certainly the phase 2 is of interest to them. And this time also, there has been a renewed commitment from the Saudi side that in future they would like to participate. Of course, we do have certain countries which are already participating in the program, like the UAE. But Saudi Arabia, as of now, is not participating in the real sense of putting their oil physically, but in a broader strategic sense, they have agreed to participate in this. Discussions have been going on for years, and the Prime Minister Modi's visit has reaffirmed this interest that to lease a part of 2.5 mmT of Padur storage, and Saudi Arabia has been very positive, but the definitive answer is still pending from their side.
Okay. So when you talk about the high-level task force on investments, of course, the majority, the chunk of it will go on energy and other sectors. But do you think what other sectors where we can expect these Saudi investments to come in? And of course, I mean, there's infrastructure where India is eyeing the sovereign wealth fund. So what's happening, the dynamics there?
See, I think from the promised $100 billion, which was made in 2019, as I mentioned, half was for this refinery. So if you talk about the rest of the half, there is a overall assessment that roughly about $10 billion may have from Saudi Arabia, may have investments may have come to India from various channels, like the foreign direct investments from their sovereign wealth fund, PIF, which has invested about 3.22 billion, in India so far. And rest, through the Saudi-backed Vision Fund investments in India, and through portfolio investments, and through various other channels, the investments have come in. Now, talking about sectors, of course, energy remains a prime and historically a prime focus of Saudi investments, which includes, of course, petrochemicals and refining. But now the emerging sectors are renewable energy, particularly the green energy initiatives, green hydrogen and others, technology, investments in IT and software development, then telecom. Of course, they have already invested in Reliance, telecom, that is one. IT, financial services, software development, pharmaceuticals, I could say. Mining is an area of Saudi interest. Agriculture is of their interest, particularly, agribusiness, agricultural SEZs and all. One interesting area which has emerged is also the sports. The Saudi Arabia is very keen to promote cricket. They have already have their own cricket team in the kingdom. They are investing in IPL. They are, supporting by way of sponsorships, various programs. In fact, they have even hosted a national Indian football tournament. Yes, so sports is coming a big way. Healthcare is another area, they are interested in, because that is where they need Indian expertise to come in there. Tourism is an area of interest to them, because they would like the Indian tourists to go in big numbers in Saudi Arabia. So that is one of the things, So these are various sectors which are of interest to the kingdom, apart from energy.
Sir, also now touching upon the diaspora issue, how do you think that aspect is going to work out? I mean, PM was supposed to visit, but unfortunately he couldn't, the diaspora community there. But do you think that's well and thriving, and issues such as, some of the labor issues that we keep on hearing time and again, those are being sorted out?
You see, the Indian diaspora is the biggest expatriate, community in India, 2.7 million. So, and the number is increasing. One of the things to note is that the Indian diaspora is highly regarded, highly respected, throughout, the Gulf, and also more particularly in the kingdom, and especially in the white collar jobs, and all kinds of, advanced. IT tech related jobs, Indians are being recruited. Now, having said that, there are always some issues which would crop up time and again relating to visas, relating to sponsorships and other things. Both countries have been working very closely to kind of integrate their immigration systems, so that they could see what kind of legal immigration is taking place, whether people are properly trained or not. So I think the kind of problems which we used to see in the past are slowly reducing. There is also a mechanism which was evolved even while I was there, to have a kind of a regular monthly or a meeting once in a quarter with the Saudi ministries concerned through their foreign ministry. So that means the embassy officials will always get an opportunity to do it, so that the problems do not kind of aggravate and are able to, when we are both sides are able to do so. So I don't think that these issues will really be a sticking point in the relationship. In fact, they would be a bonding factor, because the diaspora works very closely in various strategic fields, and they can form a bridge between India and Saudi Arabia in further developing our relationship.
Mhm. Sir, and also finally, to understand from you, there has been I think, a fresh lease of life given to the India GCC FTA, the Free Trade Agreement, and that, of course, is the flavor now with Trump's policy of reciprocal tariffs and others. Do you think this is now one segment which sort of was in the back burner will now be really pushed forward and expedited, the India GCC FTA? Although it will take a
Yeah,
lot of time because
yes, indeed. This is a very important, issue which needs to be resolved. It has it has taken a lot of time. I think it has taken several years, to come to a position where both sides exchange their drafts, and came closer to the negotiations. From the Saudi perspective, and from the Indian side's expectation of Saudi Arabia, is to give the GCC Secretariat a nudge so that this moves forward. Because when November 2022, when we tried to relaunch the negotiations were actually relaunched, but then not much of a progress was made. So I think in the meantime, what had happened was, of course, we have the with SEPA, with UAE, the other countries like Qatar and Oman also want to have separate agreements with India. Now, it will be better for the region as well as for India if this is expedited. I think both sides are working closely. There is a new negotiator from the GCC side, which was appointed a few months ago. So now we feel that we are in a better position to kind of expedite it. And certainly, it is also in Saudi Arabia's interest to push this. And this came up also for discussions in our bilateral meeting several times.
okay, well, thank you so much, sir. That has been wonderful talking to you, and thank you for giving us all the details. So that was Dr. Ausaf Sayeed, India's former
Thank
ambassador
you.
to Saudi Arabia and Secretary, Ministry of External Affairs.